Crochet can be gloriously peaceful and solitary, but also if you only do it by yourself, it can be kind of lonely. Hello, and welcome to Bla Bla Black Sheep, a weekly yarny podcast where I, Sarah Korth of SEK Handmade, talk all things yarny. Today, we're talking about your crochet community. And if you're like, Sarah, I don't have a crochet community, it's okay. We're going to talk about where to find a crochet community and how to get involved. If you don't already have a crochet community, it can be overwhelming to think about where can I find one. So I'd like to start off by giving you some suggestions of where to seek out a yarn community. I bet you can guess what my first suggestion is going to be. Yep, I'm going to say go to your local yarn shop. I know that this is not a one-size-fits-all solution to this because I know both people don't have local yarn shops near enough to them to be involved in that community regularly, and there are certainly local yarn shops that don't offer any type of community event. However, if your local yarn shop doesn't offer a community type event, they may be very knowledgeable about what other types of local groups there are that you can get involved in. Lots of people come and go from local yarn shops and talk about what they're making with the local yarn shop owner and employees. And so I have found that they are a wealth of knowledge of not only what's happening in their own shop, but in the greater yarny community. If you don't have a local yarn shop, a great place to get involved in yarn craft is a church. While I am very lucky and my city has multiple local yarn shops, it definitely has way more churches. Churches will often have some sort of yarny fellowship group, whether it's just to get together to stitch and chit chat, or it's for a specific purpose like crafting for charity or working on prayer shawls. Now, I fully understand that not everyone is religious, and so going to a church might be uncomfortable. However, I want to encourage you to give it a try because I think a lot of these groups are very community friendly, welcome, opening. They want people to be involved. If you're just like, I don't have a local yarn shop and I can't do the church thing, I want to encourage you to check out a community center. Local community centers are another great wealth of information. If you don't have a community center, maybe check out a local library. If they don't have a crafting group, they may be interested in starting one if they hear that there's a community interest, or they may have one that exists in the community even though they aren't in charge of it. If you hunt around your local town and you don't find any sort of community yarn craft group, that's okay. Technology is amazing. If you've gone and hunted down lots of local resources and you can't find anything, go to a Facebook community page. A lot of communities have a Facebook page where you can ask questions and hear about community events. This would be a great place to just ask the question, are there any local yarn groups? Hopefully somebody will reach out on there and you can get connected with a group that already exists in your community. There are lots of places online and with social media that allow for community groups of all types. One of the places that I have found the most yarn crafting groups is Facebook. I know that social media can be kind of a yucky place, but if you find the right crafting group online, I think you'll find that it really enriches your life. You can really get specific with your Facebook groups. So you don't have to just join a crochet group. If you're a person who loves crochet blankets, mosaic crochet, Tunisian crochet, amigurumi crochet, you can join a Facebook group for those specific things. I have joined several spinning groups, not because I know how to spin, but because I'm super interested in it. And it is a wealth of knowledge and inspiration about the craft of spinning yarn. I'd also encourage you to look to see if your local area has a Facebook group. I am part of a Wisconsin specific crochet group. And so this is all crocheters that live within my state. Some of them very close to me and others still pretty far away, but it's a more local community than just going into a Facebook group that has people from all over the world. In my Wisconsin specific Facebook group, we really commune over the weather, events that are going on in the state, and even local yarny events like shops that are having special deals or the Fiber Festival that happens once a year. My last suggestion for where to look for a yarny community would be to try pattern testing. I know that this is something that if you've never thought of doing it before can seem kind of scary, but I'm going to link in the show notes my whole entire playlist that I have about pattern testing. It's all about things like what to expect, how to know if pattern testing is for you, how to pick a pattern test that's right for you. And then I even have some Meet the Maker style interviews with some pattern testers so that you can hear about their experiences and kind of decide if this is something that's right for you. If you land in the right pattern test, though, it can really be a great community builder. Often because of the things that go on in tests, questions that need to be asked, adjustments that need to be made to patterns, pattern tests will have some sort of chat group. Not all the time, but sometimes those chat groups can be really friendly and you can get to know people on those chat groups and become close friends through pattern testing. If that kind of community chat sounds fun with you, but you're not sure about pattern testing, I might also suggest to look into a crochet along. If there's some sort of group chat that revolves around a crochet along, same situation. You will be chatting about the crochet along, but you may also connect with people who have life circumstances that are similar to you, whether it's kids that are the same age, living in the same area, loving to vacation in the same spot. All of those things can be connections that you make with people through a make-along group. Now that I've shared with you several ways to find a community, I want to talk about actually joining a community, because finding a community does not a great crochet community make. Let's start by talking about in-person local groups. The first thing you have to do after you find that group is you need to go to the group. This to me is the biggest hurdle of gaining a community, is that it's scary to go into an already established community and figure out if that's a place you're going to fit. Here's the other tricky part. I want to implore you to go more than once. These groups that are just kind of like drop in when you can shift a lot in who attends. So you may go visit a group once and be like, nobody my age, nobody I can relate to, I'm out. But if you go 3 or 4 times, you may find that some of the people who show up maybe a little more irregularly are people that could be your people. So I really want to implore you to not just go to these in-person community groups, but to go several times before you decide whether they are or not whether they are or aren't for you. The next thing I want to encourage you to do with an in-person group is speak up. You cannot be the person who just sits silently in the corner and then magically connects with people. If you want to build a community, you need to build connections with people. To do that, you need to communicate with those people, tell them about yourself, ask them about themselves, and get involved in a conversation. Once you have gone and found your community and chatted with people some, the next step that really builds community is communicating with these people outside of this little group. If you want a really tight-knit community, you need to have connection with them on a very regular basis that does not rely solely on this group existing. Get people's phone numbers, go out for coffee, go on a hike, do something other than crocheting, and get to know them even more deeply. All right, those are some suggestions for when you're seeing people in person. Let's talk about if you're part of some sort of virtual community. This is different. This could be people from all over the world, and so you may never have the opportunity to physically meet with these people. And that is totally okay. You can still grow some sort of really close-knit community virtually. Similar steps apply to a virtual community as apply to an in-person community. And that means you need to check back regularly. Yes, you're not physically going to some sort of designated meet up weekly. But if you join a Facebook group and then never go back there again, you're not going to build a community there. Make it a part of your habit when you sit down to scroll social media to check in with that Facebook group and see what people are saying. Then, of course, you can't be that person who sits in the corner of the virtual group either. You need to get involved. So answer people's questions, compliment their work, ask a question of them. Get some conversation and community going within that virtual group, and you'll start to see people that you connect with regularly and the people who are more active in that group. You may find that you meet someone within that virtual group, whether it's a tester group or a crochet Facebook group or a crochet along group that you really connect with. And so the next step is you need to again, find some way to connect with them outside of that group, whether it's exchanging phone numbers and texting each other or just having a private chat going on outside of the group, whether that's through some sort of, it's a Facebook group and you're Facebook messaging each other. That sort of situation. You don't have to give out your personal information, but having a private chat with somebody or a couple somebodies that you've really connected with inside that virtual group can really help maintain and grow a more personal community. I want to tell you a little secret that I have to remind myself of on a pretty regular basis, and that is the fact that everybody wants to be a part of a group. Almost nobody wants to be in charge of organizing the group. I am an organizer. I like to reach out to people. I like to make plans. I try hard to check in with people, though I'm not always the best at that. But I always hit a certain point where I'm like, I'm the only one who ever reaches out. Nobody cares enough to reach out to me. And I don't think that that's actually the case. The truth is that everybody wants to be invited, but everybody either has a hard time or feels self-conscious or is just so busy they don't think about the inviting and the organizing. So if you really want a group and you are not finding what you want, you may need to start it yourself. This can be scary. I totally understand that. But if you really want a crafty community, you may have to start it yourself. If you decide that this is what you're going to do, start your own crafting community, you can go really big or you can go really small. You need to think about what you can manage, what your intention is with the group, and realistically what you can maintain. As the person who starts the group, it's also going to be your responsibility to keep it rolling. So before you dive into just willy-nilly starting your own craft community, you want to think about, do I want it in person or do I want it virtually? Where are we going to meet? How many people am I going to invite? Is it going to be kind of an invite-only group, or am I going to put it out to the whole community somehow? The other thing to think about is, how often are you going to meet? Meeting randomly at different times makes it really hard for people to commit. So you want to think about, are we going to meet the first Tuesday of every month? Are we going to meet every Saturday? What can you commit to and what can you stay consistent with? Then you just need to keep in the forefront of your mind that everybody wants to be invited, but nobody wants to organize. So keep powering on. Keep inviting people, invite new people, and make sure you show up regularly. Once the news gets out about your group, if you want it to be a public big community, people are going to start to come and people are going to be there more consistently. Because again, everybody wants that community. I really hope that all of these tips help you find or create a craft community that you really love. All right, let's talk about what I'm wearing today. I am wearing my Simone shawl. This is the perfect spring shawl. It's just really fun, beautiful springy colors. It's an asymmetrical shawl that starts at the wide end and gets narrower and narrower, which I love because the hardest part about most shawls is that as you're working, each row gets bigger and bigger and takes longer and longer. But with this one, it goes faster and faster. So you feel like you're riding the downhill of a roller coaster the whole entire time you're crocheting this. It's a smaller asymmetrical shawl, so I'm wearing a shawl cuff with it to keep it in place. Having a shawl pin or a shawl cuff makes wearing shawls so much easier. I'll put a link to where I got this shawl cuff from in the show notes, as well as to the pattern and to Blue Sky Fiber yarns, which is what I used for this. I am also wearing some beautiful springy earrings. These are my Aquarius Encounters earrings, and they are a little piece of stained glass that's iridescent, and they are really, really beautiful. While I feel like time is literally running away from me, it is still April, which means the spring shawl along is still going on. I'd love for you to join our spring shawl along community and make a shawl with us this month. All of my shawl patterns are on sale for the whole month. There'll be a link to my Ravelry shop, and you can go there and shop any of my shawl patterns. Discount will already be applied when you check out. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found this really helpful, and I truly hope that you find your crochet community. I would love it if you would subscribe and turn on notifications. I'm here every week. You'll get a little notification whenever I post a new video. We have a really positive crochet community here with the podcast, and I'd love for you to be a part of it. I would love it if you would like this video and maybe even send it to a friend who might be a partner in helping you start a crochet community. Thank you again for joining me today. We'll be back here next week. Happy crafting!